Hey y'all, it's Dee Dee. I am recording this video to talk to you about a topic I don't actually know much about. So, as with most things that I don't know much about, I've tried to sit back and listen to other people. I've recently had a lot of conversations with folks about accountability and what that looks like, friendships and what that looked like. And I want to talk to y'all a little bit about both because I'm actually searching for feedback. This video I'm recording is for feedback because I didn't want to be distracted by comments on a Facebook Live. I want to be able to say what it is I have to say. I had written down bullet points, but I actually can't go by the bullet points because I already know that since I'm a person who speaks from my heart instead of my brain, that this is not going to work if I just go by the bullet points. So I'm going to tell you what I've written down. And the reason why this conversation is beginning again for me is because I don't know if y'all remember a story that I had told you one time before about this girl that I was really, really romantically interested in. Someone I really respected told me that when people just like ghost on you and disappear on you, that they're conditional friends. And so I'm like, oh, okay, so I wrote a story about conditional friendships. This is right around the time that something very big and something very public had happened on the internet about someone being a conditional friend in my life. And, I processed it with a friend and I was like, I don't know why this person would do this to me. I really didn't even do anything to them. And, I was schooled, so to say, about conditional friends. I liked that the terminology was used conditional friends instead of fake friends because we're all very much aware of what's real and what's fake, right? I think most of us are. I liked conditional because it said that there are conditions under which we can remain friends, right? And so this is what I want to talk to you all about today. The reason why it's coming up for me is because in the story, and if you don't remember the story or if you glaze past it or you don't remember it, what I will do is put it as a link, the Facebook post, as a link in the description of the video. I'm very, very much romantically inclined to this woman. Her name was Diana, and obviously that's not her name, but whatever. I ran into Diana about 2 weeks ago, and she said that she wanted to have a conversation with me and wanted to know why I'm not speaking to her. It's been over a year that I've not spoken to this person. And I texted them back, and I said, if you can apologize for telling me that I should wait until my kid's father gets his act together before making judgments about his behavior during my pregnancy, it would be great. And she brought up the fact that there was some confusion around who my child's father was. And I really told her, again, that's none of her business. And I brought that up because I know other people like to bring that up as well. So during the time of that post, I remember saying vaguely that, she had decided to not date me, which is fine. It's more than her right to. But she dated this woman who literally gaslit her and treated her like shit their entire relationship. And I was the shoulder she would lean on and cry about this woman. And I remember when that confusion happened, when I got pregnant, I'm like, oh my God, like there's these two guys I was seeing and one of them is my kid's father, but I just don't want to pin it on one or the other. She was like, you can't hold them responsible. You're just going to have to wait until the baby's born. And so I was just like, yes, this is probably my fault, right? Women, we are to blame for everything that is wrong in the world. And I was just confused as to why both of these men were trying to make decisions for me during my pregnancy if I was supposed to wait until Egypt was born for me to figure it out. So long story short, at the end of this post, I had written, I have very few real friends. I've heard some criticism that they let me get away with everything. That just isn't true. I've had more arguments with actual friends than I've had with lovers and white supremacists combined. But those people hold my complexity without conditions. Some will say that I am the conditional friend for cutting Diana off. That may be true. I'm not sure. I'm just sharing a story. I don't need people on my side, but I find it very interesting that, when we had this text exchange about whose fault it is that we're not speaking, she's like, I really want to speak to you in person. So we spoke in person, and I'm recounting everything I just recounted for you all on the internet. And she's like, you know what? I said, what? And she was like, I want to tell you that I apologize. I actually wasn't in a place because I was dealing with my own depression that I couldn't be there for you. And when I was hearing your story, I was like, this is a lot of drama and I don't want no parts of it. And I was like, wow, I had to sit still with that because I was like, this is a lot to hear back, because a part of me wants to be like, yes, bitch, I was right. And then a large part of me was like, was I still not being there for her? I don't know. I just feel like all sorts of ways, right? So I started thinking about that last paragraph, that I have very few real friends, that love me without condition. And I'm trying to figure out how to navigate when you have friends in social justice spaces. I don't know. I never signed up for this. I think I just rolled with the punches. And that's not to excuse any behavior that I have. So this is going to be a video about my accountability. And I'm going to go off the thing I wrote, not the script anymore, because I'm not trying to pull shots fired. I'm just really having a legitimate conversation. So I hope y'all hold me through this. Excuse me, I have gas. I've been seeing an uptick of posts, and I've been informed of multiple discussions being had about me. The first time I became aware that I was an activist trending topic was August 16th, right before Monica and I led 45,000 people to the fight supremacy on Boston Common. A lot of times I'm hurt and confused by the omission of who has passed along the information, because rarely has it ever been a question or a clarification as to my character. But as my wife often chants, if it ain't directed, it ain't respected. And so today, though, I'd like to pay my respects to the indirects and respectability that I never agreed to, but seems to be the politics for this organizing party that I'm a part of. For the past year, I have grown accustomed to drinking a tequila sunrise. I'm telling y'all that because every time I have a break with someone, whether it's a friendship or a relationship, most people cut their hair or buy some new clothes or do a weight loss challenge. Not me. This simple bitch breaks up with their favorite cocktail. So for example, when I was dating my first long-term person, it was a 5-year relationship. Pasoa is a Puerto Rican liquor. And I gave that up, and then we got back together, and then I gave up Cape Cods, right? It was terrible. When I got divorced from my ex-husband, I separated as well from sex on the beach. Finally, when I stopped being the third wheel with someone who was experiencing a failure to launch, I gave up whiskey sours. And for those of y'all who know me, y'all know I was on my whiskey sour shit. But today I want to tell you a little bit about tequila sunrises and why this adult beverage explains my very adult life and why I refuse to give up this one this time. A tequila sunrise is 6 parts or 3 ounces of orange juice, 3 parts or 1.5 parts of tequila. I like Cuervo if I don't have no place to go the next day, because it sometimes gives me a headache. But if I have to be at a fancy event, I will ask for the Patron. And then it's 1 part, which is 1/2 ounce of grenadine. And for me personally, 3 cherries. The tequila sunrise is an unmixed mixed drink. I've seen people actually make this at the bar and they fuck it up every time. They literally will pour the grenadine like they're drizzling it. And actually, no, you're supposed to let it hit the side of the glass and let it trickle down, because it's supposed to be, the colors are at the bottom and then the orange juice makes a sunrise. Not important, but whatever. So I sat with the term, because I'm a poet, I guess, unmixed mixed drink. And I'm like, is that an oxymoron or a paradox? And so, I took it to the thesaurus and I came up with that it is a paradox. And another word for paradox is a contradiction. So then I started Googling antonyms for the word contradiction, and I came up with results that stood out to me like rejection, negation, and disclaimer. So this is going to be a disclaimer about how I intend to operate as a person going forward, both on an individual and collective level, in either the absence or presence of rejection, acceptance, negation, or approval. On an individual level, I would say that I'm committed to being my best self. This includes, but is not limited to, being upfront, honest, and direct with a brunch cocktail full of love, care, and concern for both my person and for those I come into contact with. When I am absolutely my worst, though, I will allow time to both process and work through all of my feelings and behaviors, but on my own time. I am not a perfect person, mother, organizer, or communicator 50% of the time. And I am now aware that this can be compounded by interacting with people who believe that they are any of those aforementioned things 100% of the time. So my boundaries are as follows. Number 1, I will no longer bounce what if and how could they scenarios off of other people. Prior to this declaration, I would speak with the person I'm having conflict with about my concerns, and if my concerns still existed after this initial conversation, I would then lean on other friends or business partners for advice in the situation. I'm looking dead into this camera and I'm saying I was wrong for this, and I'm actually grappling with how to correct this mistake going forward. Because I've learned that many of our perceptions of the word friend seems to me a social construct similar to the word comrade. In my experience, both of these terms have been built by a framework of romanticism based on where you've met someone at in life, and whether they are in alignment with your values and where you want to be or where you actually are in life. Most times I've gained a new friend, asterisk, from now on after that word, y'all, are when things are going extremely well for me. Most times I'm very charismatic and I initially show love to everyone I meet. This is how I align with most people's values and where they want to be or are already at in life. I find it interesting that the people I've continued to connect with through a range of my emotions and behaviors that are either becoming or unbecoming, I've actually met at times where I didn't have shit to offer, or I needed as much from them as they needed from me. I have become very wary of people who say that they don't need me for anything, or quote, I don't need nothing from you, but are upset with me for disappointing them. Expectations that I will play some role that fits everyone's social palette is actually something I cannot adhere to. That leads me to number 2. I will no longer trust or divulge who has misappropriated, prevented, or tried to control my finances in any way, shape, or form. The list is long, but I'm going to keep it to myself because this is about my accountability. It has been proven that not many individuals and organizations will own up to when they do something wrong, or they will draft a statement that reflects amazingly on them and silences the person that have been harmed. But this is about what I can control and what I cannot. Not what I cannot. So now, I won't allow my debit card to be used in an emergency because I can no longer trust it won't be used again without my permission. Going forward, I certainly will enter into monetary agreements as a code-switching person instead of someone who agrees off the humble with the aforementioned perceived good human interaction. Number 3, and the reason why I decided to write about number 3, y'all, is because I wanted to weigh it in the middle as the center. I discuss my sexual freedom and how it ties into me feeling either really great, extremely bored, in need of a revamp, or I explain good, not so good consequences from my decisions. I will be talking about my sexual freedoms a lot. I have been suggested to tone it down in order to save my platform. I don't know what platform y'all think I have. I literally have less than 10,000 people following me. I am my experiences, though. If somehow me squirting on hump day harms or offends you, I am probably not the person you should follow. So I invite you to practice self-care either way. Number 4, a lot of times I don't interact with people because of my experience with them. The same can be said of folks who do not interact with me. However, What I commit to do going forward and what I will not do going forward is discredit your work just because I don't like you or my friend, asterisk, doesn't like you, or we make baseless claims that no one knows who you are. I got a story. I accepted a friend request about a year ago from someone who's awesome. Now I know this person to be someone who's awesome and actually does work dismantling systems in their community as a formerly incarcerated person. But when she friend requested me, though, because I didn't know this about her, I immediately text my best connection, formally defined for me by society as a friend, asterisk. And I was like, yo, who is this? And why is she friend requesting me? I don't even know her. Me and homegirl laugh about it now because how could I have almost missed out on this great connection with her? But it actually puts me in check about how we erase people's stories by weighing them against a rubric of whether they have a seat with us at the national "you can't sit with us" table. I have watched several of these interactions, and karma has come back to me most recently in the form of stumbling across a Twitter thread about me. I was shocked that the original person didn't reach out to me and assumed the worst of my intentions and had conversations with some very prominent activists and then began making jokes about me in this thread in a way that literally made me feel as though I was canceled according to them. And I want to tell you a story about being canceled. Y'all can cancel me. Last time I was canceled was 2006, and look at me breathing and shit. If y'all remember, there was a popular platform for social media called MySpace. I'm probably dating my age, but that's okay. Mi Espacio was the place to be. And I remember I met someone off of MySpace because you can make friends very easily on this thing. It sounds like something I know now. And on this platform, met this guy. He came out as queer and was like, you know, my family, they can't know that I'm queer. I need a place to stay. And so me being the bitch I've always been, was like, you can stay here, right? The person lived with me for 2 to 3 months. I can't remember the time frame. And this person literally still remained my best friend. So I would come home from work or he would come home from work and I would process my day. Oh, this happened with so-and-so at work. Or my homegirl called me and we had an argument about this. Or, hey, we're going to a party. Like, he was like literally my human diary. Because he was such a good friend, I felt like I could tell him anything in confidence. However, he decided, and it's well within his right, that he was no longer going to engage in homosexual activity or be this person who identified as homosexual. I didn't know much about it, about what that meant to him, and so I let him live his best life. Coincidentally, at the time, me and a former partner were deciding to get back together, and that person was going to move in with me. I had a 1-bedroom apartment. I was like, well, since you're like not queer no more and you can go back home and live with your family, you gotta like leave in 30 days. I was like straight jacket with it. This nigga gonna go on MySpace and literally didn't even tell me he was doing it. He didn't even tell me he was mad at me. He never said nothing. He was just like, okay, cool. And he moved out that week. I told him 30 days. He moved out that week. And went on MySpace and wrote an entire post and tagged every single friend and had a line for each of them of something I had said about them. Now, the reason why he knew all my friends is not just because of the stories I was telling him, is because I had either, you know, fell in love with his friends or he had fallen in love with my friends. So we shared a lot of mutuals together. And so I read that shit. I had signed in. People had been texting me, have you seen this? And I was devastated, y'all. I was, oh my God, I've been canceled. I mean, I was more devastated than what I just conveyed. But I was like, I can't live like this no more. I can't, no one likes me now and this, that, and the third. And it was an interesting turn of events that although I had been canceled by this person, a lot of our mutuals were like, actually, I'm on Dee side because ain't y'all ace boon coons? That doesn't even make sense, like why you would do this, because that's your home person. Like what you're saying doesn't even actually make sense. And so I started like being like, wow, this is an interesting turn of events. The comments blew up. So family members that he had tagged and said I was talking trash about, or like, don't ever come for my niece or my cousin. friends of his were like, actually, I can't confide in you now, because it was just, it was weird the way it backfired. I mean, I still had accountability because there were a few friends who literally were like, I can't believe that I had told you that in confidence and you told this. Like, and so I still have to atone for that. Like, there are some relationships that were just never repaired because of that. But it was just an interesting lesson for me. And so that's why I don't shit on nobody else's parade, like, publicly. If I have a conversation with you, though, and I tell you where you're shitty at, that's a different thing. But I'm going to stop doing that, too. And so that's where I'm about to go into with this. If I have told someone my experience of working with you is X, Y, and Z, I apologize. I was wrong for that, and I'm sorry if I caused you grief or harm. Going forward, when people ask me about someone, I think I can still hold my truth without acting as if you are canceled or that your work doesn't matter. I would, however, love some suggestions about the difference between feeling hurt and being harmed, and how I can convey that in a loving manner while still being like, well, you know what, I don't fuck with you on this side. Number 5, lastly, I'm committed to learning. I became a nationally known poet in 2015 and a nationally known organizer in 2016. Prior to that, y'all didn't know nothing about me, and I can honestly say that I was at a place that many people still are at. I didn't know anything about y'all, and I did not give a fuck about activism. I didn't give a fuck about people's narratives either. I barely graduated from high school, and I still don't even have an associate's degree. I was the person that believed that if you worked hard enough, people would honor that. So I would go to church and be super Christian. I was a pick-me bitch. I was all into the respectability that we talk about, oh, now we don't do, but we do it, right? It's just on a different level. It's like, we, instead of being at corporate America's table, we have like the activism table about whose activism dick is bigger. Like, you know, sometimes I still believe that if you work hard enough, people will honor that, but that is something I have to unpack every time it creeps back in. I've also been, I don't know if you know that, but I've been also asking for some sort of training, whether it's an interpersonal training or an actual organizer training, to become a better organizer and a person. I sometimes do want to go back to corporate America and just ignore y'all so I can focus on office politics instead, because I actually know how to navigate that shit. But I do not know how to navigate this place where we are actually allowed to love and support one another, and then we only do it when it suits us. All of my faves are problematic, and I know this because I am my number one fan, so I'm the most problematic of them all. In a world where hurt and harm certainly covers a large range, I never know where I fall on the spectrum. I don't know if I'm fucking y'all up in the head like I'm on some R. Kelly and Chris Brown shit. I don't know if I'm on some Harvey Weinstein shit. I don't know if I'm on some Lena Dunham shit. I don't know if what I'm doing right now is like the worst thing in the world, but if it is, I would prefer you call me and tell me about it instead of like talking about me. I am also committed, lastly, to uplifting the voices of the most marginalized, plus the marginalized folks that no one gives a fuck about. I do not care if you're a white supremacist or if you are a former friend, asterisk. You can write whatever you want. The only person I worry about canceling me is my kid. And I apologize to the connections I let read this or hear this in advance when I was looking for advice. I promise this will be the last time. It's about to be 2018. Let me buy you a tequila sunrise, though.